Everybody, welcome back to the shop. I'd like to introduce you and to some extent myself to the newest project and hopefully useful piece of equipment in the shop. This gem is a 1977 or 79, not 100% sure, Yale forklift. It's a 6,000 pound capacity fork truck. It's got pneumatic tires, I guess I'll call it an automatic transmission with a differential. It's got standard lift and tilt. It does not have side shift on the forks. It has spreaders on the forks. And that brings us to how little I know about this. Now, I don't have a lot of forklift experience, I'll be the first to admit. I've got forks on the loader on my ag tractor I use constantly. This is, let's just call it all new to me. The steering in the back. Whew. I need to both improve the machine and my skills operating this machine so that I can be much more smooth than what little I've tried so far. So I'm going to kind of ask you folks, those of you who are watching, if you have any insights, any experiences that you might have, hey, watch out for this, or hey, check that. I am all ears because I got nothing. Let's look under the hood and, I don't know, is that what you call it, a hood? Let's look under the seat and I'll show you what we got for a motor. It's a little 4-cylinder Ford. See if I can get this over here in a way that you guys might be able to introspect it. She runs okay, a little bit cold-blooded, manual choke. The alternator, I've had the hood open, but as we can see, the alternator is kind of in there a little cockeyed. They've replaced the battery with one from the local farm store. Looks like it's got some new plug wires and plugs. This is probably the saddest part of this whole thing, the exhaust / intake. It's all one casting. This manifold broke right here, and they booger welded it back together. It hasn't been long ago that they did that, just based on how shiny it is, and it's my biggest concern. I've taken a cursory look and I can't find one of those yet. So if anybody knows where I can find manifold like that, man, I'm all ears, all ears. Here's another place that I think we're going to be able to make a lot of improvement. You know, given its age, this is no different than any of the El Caminos. There is a ton of slop in here. The detents, if there were any, are all completely gone. We'll be taking a look at those. The manufacturer's spec plate, or whatever you call this, is nearly impossible to read. We did manage to get a big long model number out of here, and I'll put it on the screen. And then this says looks like T080, which I don't know why. It's a very different font, very different stamping. And then it's got some more information, and down here is your weight distribution and what load it will carry, which we were able to sort of scan our peepers around with lights shining from different directions, and it's a 6,000 pound piece of equipment. All of the cylinders look super good. Don't see any, gushing or leaking or abnormal puddles. There's nothing under it right now. The spreader cylinders are in great shape. They're good and dry, not hurting anything. I can tell you right now, if this is not my last forklift, I will be keeping that spreader assembly. Again, all new to me, I got to looking at this and realized that the fork spreader is an attachment to the original fork plate here. So this can actually be, the whole spreader assembly can be taken off, plumbed into another forklift, and you get what you want. So back over here on this side, we got a couple of things going on. We can grab the battery tray and swing it out, but the alternator's not charging, or should I say the battery's not getting any charge. And I've figured out why. They decided that a little cable management was a good idea, and they put that big zip tie right there. Problem is that zip tie goes around the battery cables here, ground cable here, the fuel line here, and I don't know, by the way, let's grab onto a bunch of the wiring harness, the wires that go over here to the distributor. Let's just bundle all those up because that'll be good. Problem is, when you swing the battery out like this, it pulls on everything. And as you can see down there, that broken lug terminal was under stress and eventually broke. All we got to do to help this out is just disco that big zip tie and tie things up a little better. The other thing they did, if you notice down here, what you're looking at there with the line cut off is the side of the fuel filter. And then lo and behold, that plate down there is a block off plate because they took the mechanical fuel pump off. Don't really know why. It might have been it's just easy, right? This is a farming situation. Didn't need to spend a lot of money. Didn't care if it was the same thing that was there just as long as it worked. So they added a 12 volt clickety-clack fuel pump. And it runs down here into the tank. And that's it. Problem is, I don't really see a fuel filter. And if there is one, it's this little silver job right here. Let's see if I can get it around here where you can see it. It's that little job. And if that's a fuel filter, that's about the only thing it can be. I've never seen one like it, and I sure can't see in it to know if it's dirty. So that's another thing we're going to undo. We'll leave the electric fuel pump for now. It's working. But we're going to put a filter in there that we can actually see. So I looked at all the fluids before I bought it. They've all been changed very recently, probably just prior to putting it up for sale. The one thing that didn't get changed is the air filter. This little baby is dirty. I mean, there isn't stuff falling out, but you can see it. It's pretty gross. So I'd like to replace this, but nowhere on here, anywhere, is there a model number or anything. So I'm going to have to take this down to the Napa store and see if they've got some insights as to what this might be. Again, I'd appreciate any insights you guys have on this. I mean, even down to the paint color. Bud already wants to paint it. And I don't think that's a bad idea. Just not the first idea. All right, I'm going to undo the wiring problems that I just showed you with the alternator and that zip tie. Bud ought to be here in a few minutes. We'll fire it up. We'll take it outside and play with it a little. Well, things escalated quickly. So I got all the zip ties cut off and everything figured out. Well, kind of. Then I found this big wad of tape and I pulled it all out and I found this, which I now know is a trio of diodes. This is normally found inside of some of the older alternators. And it was in line with the exciter wire. I did a little research and discovered that sometimes the wiring on older vehicles, potentially the switch, sorry about the glare, the switch and how it's wired, will let power backfeed to through that wire. So you have to have a diode there. I took that out because the wire was busted. This is a kludgy ass mess. I'll get another diode. In the meantime, I just connected the wire up straight. And what that's doing is with the key off, if I hook the battery up, you'll hear the fuel pump start. So that's feeding through the system somehow. I need that diode back in there, but I'll get the proper diode and on Tuesday and put it in. In the meantime, we're going to clean the tools off the top, fire it up, and take it for a little spin. So I severely hate rattles. It's in the muffler somewhere. Plenty of lift. If I didn't already show it, this is a tri-diode that I found in line here under a big wad of tape. Not the right thing to be using, but effective. It's a diode. We're going to replace that with this normal blocking diode. This is a 3 amp diode. And that will be make for a much nicer wiring and wrap job, along with some heat shrink tubing that's got adhesive in it. I've started and stopped the unit. The amp gauge works. We're charging. So that leaves us, at least for the moment, to do something about this air cleaner with no identifying marks. I'll run that up to Napa and see what they can do for me. Everybody and their brother probably uses it for something. Good morning. I'm back, and my friends at Napa seem to have taken care of us. You go to Napa not necessarily because things are the cheapest, but because they can find things like this, and they will persevere to figure out what I believe is going to be the right filter. They went so far as to get out a tape measure. You won't find that at any other parts store. Heck, I even gave them the wrong year and make. Accidentally, I assure you. But I said it was a Clark, and this is a Yale. So yeah, absolutely, that works perfect. It was the right size. We're good to go. So now we're gonna pour a little Berryman's in the tank just for good measure. And the last thing I want to do in this video anyways is check the timing. We'll have to use the ear meter on the timing because I can't see the timing marks on the crank. But we'll give that a little adjustment and see if we can't make her run just a little bit better. I brought you over to the other side of the motor from where we put the air cleaner in now. I want to play with the timing a little bit. I've made some marks down there so I can see where it's currently set because, hey, it starts and runs now, but it's had some pre-ignition knock a couple of times, and it also tried to run on what I call dieseling the other day. So I want to see if there's a little adjustment here and see what we can bring of it. The firing order's up here. It's 1, 2, 4, 3, and let's see. That's 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3. So yeah, 1, 2, 4, 3. So the rotor's spinning in a clockwise direction relative to how we're looking at it. So I think what I want to do is I want to retard the timing. So I'm going to turn it clockwise just a little bit. Now let me get this loose. We'll fire it up and see what kind of problems we can make. Well, I decided to take one more look for a timing mark of some kind, and I stuffed my head down here, and behind this belt, I don't know if you can see it right here. Yeah, you can see it. Hell, from your angle you can see it real good. There's the timing needle. So we're going to paint it yellow and get out a timing light and see what that tells us, because also up here, I believe, yep, on the cover it shows the timing should be 10 degrees before top's dead center at 600 ripms. Yeah. Let's go that route too. Contact. I think we're going to leave it right where it was for now anyways. Well, I think that's what we're going to call it for this video. We've gotten it out, we've played with it a little bit, just sort of touching around the edges a bit. I left the timing alone, didn't really see any big improvement there. We've got a good air cleaner in it now. We got the charging system working and the wires have quit pulling on each other. So at this point, I'm gonna do some research, see if I can find a manual for it, a service manual, owner's manual, any manual at this point would be good, because I think there's a lot of adjustment that can be done in the brake clutch kind of thing, the way it feels. And then of course, there's a lot to be improved on the position of the driver, the operator. So until the next video on this beast, you take care and we'll see you next time. Right?
Whatever you say.